Okay. Hello and welcome
Hello.
to in sports. We were trying to figure out how to make this whole thing record. For some reason, even though we're well into this whole COVID-19 Zoom meeting thing, we still can't figure out technology because it's hard.
Well, we did something fun today where I started the meeting rather than you. So then we had to figure out how to transfer video control.
Right.
Yeah.
You threw a little knuckleball at me right before I was ready to.
I mean, that's what it was. I had to throw you the changeup rather than fastball.
I'm excited today because we're actually this weekend is the official weekend of the return of live sports.
Yes. Yep.
I mean, I guess you could say last weekend we had UFC, and then we had UFC on Wednesday. We had UFC again this weekend. So live sports technically had come back last weekend, but I think this weekend in full swing almost. I mean, we have there's a NASCAR race going on in Darlington as we speak.
Ryan Newman's back this week for the first time since he almost died.
Oh, cool.
Interesting.
At Daytona, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was watching the race when it started, and there was a wreck on the very first lap. So
Weird.
pretty typical. But
I didn't watch any of it.
they're under some new rules. There's some different rules and some different qualification rules and all kinds of stuff meant to limit the time that the teams have to spend at the track. But whatever, we have live sports. It doesn't even matter that there's not fans in the crowd. German soccer started this weekend, the Bundesliga. That's been exciting for me anyway, and for the sports betting community, which we'll talk about later. Then I know, Rory and DJ are playing against Ricky Fowler and some guy I've never heard of in a skins match right now for charity. That's actually going on as we speak as well, so that's kind of cool. They're carrying their own bags and they're all mic'd up and stuff. There's nobody else on the course. It's just the four of them, so it's kind of cool.
Sounds kind of fun.
But I mean, live sports are back, and we can be excited about it. And we can.
Did you talk about UFC last night?
Oh, we should talk about UFC last night.
There was UFC last night, and 3 other times this week, which is
I did mention that we had UFC last weekend, right? And then we had it Wednesday, and we had it last night. So as we're recording this on Sunday, we've had a couple of UFCs that we've actually gotten to watch. One was pay-per-view. The one last night was not pay-per-view, so we actually got to watch all of it, including the main event, which is heartbreaking, but
for both of us.
Because I lost money.
Yeah.
Because Walt Harris couldn't pull off the Cinderella story kind of victory after the murder of his daughter.
Same.
It was written in the script that he was supposed to win that match, and he almost did if the referee would have stopped the fight in the first.
It was damn close.
I thought for sure they were going to stop it, but they let it go. I mean, it wasn't Herb Dean. It was who's the other one who wrestled?
Dan Murgliata.
There you go. That's what it is. Yeah, he was right on top of it, but then just ran out of gas and couldn't throw any more punches.
Yeah, and I think once he got caught on the bottom in that first round, he just spent so much energy trying to get out of that he had nothing left.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's been an adjustment for some of these UFC athletes and stuff, because I know that fight was supposed to take place like a month ago or something.
Something like that.
So their training schedules get all messed up, and they have to kind of readjust their bodies. When you're a professional fighter, I think you try and get to your peak performance right at your fight time, so that you're not building up and you're not coming down from the peak. And it's got to be tough trying to readjust all your training schedules so that you can maintain that schedule, and hit it right at the right time.
That's got to be a hard thing to do, is figure out how to hit that peak right as the fight's supposed to be there. I mean, I don't know anything about training for a fight. I never was a wrestler, or at least after middle school. So, I mean, I never cut weight or had to worry about anything like that. But it was just it's kind of interesting. I almost want to know how they do that, like how it's like they figure out what that rise is and then plateau it right before.
It's all sports science.
So one of the guys that I trained jiu-jitsu with was also an MMA fighter. And I watched him prepare many times for some of his fights. A lot of it, when they have their camp set like a certain distance out from the fight, like up to like the week before the fight, they're in camp. So it's like a month long, depending on the person and how out of shape they may have gotten during that, between fights. They kind of set their camp length, and they work on just the different aspects of their game. They're training, they start out training maybe twice a day, and then they'll bump it up to 3-4 times a day. And they're cutting weight as they do it. They're working on their diets. They're working on water intake so that they can slowly cut that weight, as much weight as they can in camp, so that they only have, maybe 5 pounds or so that they have to cut like the night before. But then that week before the camp, then everything backs off. Like it greatly backs off. They let their body heal. And then, that week off where, they still train, but it's light training. It's just like flow rolling on the mat, just sparring with a bag or something, not like taking shots to the face, things like that. And that kind of, once your body recovers, you're kind of in that like, holy shit, I feel great kind of time, So
yeah,
that's what I have seen.
Are you
Sure, it might be a
training?
little bit different, but.
Do you still do jiu-jitsu?
No, I haven't, just because since my work schedule's changed, I just haven't had the time to get back.
Well, speaking of weight, I've been putting on a lot of it in this quarantine because it's harder to work out and stuff, but I've also been drinking a lot. What are you guys drinking today?
I got the Bushmills.
Mine's backwards. Is it backwards to you or just me?
Just you.
No, just you. Tell us what it is, though.
That is a Talisker 10. It is one. I don't know. My favorite Talisker is probably Storm, but the 10 is pretty clutch.
I like the 10 better than the Storm, but they're both really good.
The DE is by far the best. It's not close, but
Tamdu. Tamdu. It's a 10-year. The bottle's really cool looking too. It's got like a unique shape to it.
It is. It kind of looks like a Coke bottle almost.
It's like groovy glass.
Groovy. But it's got some cool stuff like written on it as well about being gentlemen purveyors of something.
Does that say Speyside? I'm trying to read it.
It's Speyside, correct. It's quite good. There's some peatiness to it. It's I think quite pleasant. I also have because I'm sure that I'm not going to just be able to stick to one glass. I have the Port Charlotte heavily peated that I just got,
which is quite good.
It's delicious and I love it. It's one of the best.
Yeah, this is my my second one. Bowmore 12.
Love that.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I figured I'd go light, then Scotch. So.
Cool.
Yeah.
So as sports have come back, we've all picked up sports betting because it's legal now in Colorado.
And we're degenerates.
So we can actually like use the DraftKings app and bet games and bet on stupid things, and it's been kind of fun. None of us really know what we're doing.
No.
I can tell you one thing that I've learned over the course of the last couple of weeks is that parlays are hard.
Yes.
And they never win.
I've lost 13 in a row.
Yeah.
13.
Outstanding.
Since last week.
I have not done parlays yet.
But before that, I had won 3 in a row, and I was like, sports betting easy. Why doesn't everybody do this? And then I lost 13 in a fucking row. So,
yeah, I've had a tough weekend, though I did win a bet this morning on Bayern Munich. So, bet on them to win both halves of the game, and they did. So they won the game 2-0, scoring in the 40th minute and the 80th minute. So they held it on till the end, but they did it. And
I didn't look at my my soccer bet one today, but
I have another one on Leverkusen tomorrow. I'm feeling pretty good about. But I did lose some money yesterday on German soccer. Lost a ton on the UFC. But I took some risks on the UFC. I had some free bets. You know, the app gives you free bets.
Which is cool.
Or like odds boosts or things like that. So you bet small amounts and still try to get high payouts. And, you know, I take most of my risks on those kind of things because I'm not like a gambling addict or anything like that. You know, I'm not chasing losses. But
no. I think over the course of the week on those 13, I've lost all of like $45. So
yeah,
I mean, it's not like I'm throwing huge amounts of money and stuff, but
I'm really kind of into it just because it's fun. It adds an extra flavor to the game and stuff, and it just gives me something else to pass my time while we're locked up in quarantine and whatnot. Plus, it's one of those things where you're always like, man, I wish I could have bet on that. I knew that was going to happen. Well, now I can. So just because I can, wanted to dip my toe in the water a little bit. But I'm not like betting my house or my kids' college fund or anything like that. So.
I think it will actually be more fun once we actually get into sports I know something about rather than and can actually watch that are not on at 3 a.m.
Right. Yeah. Tell us about Korean baseball, Eric.
Korean baseball is fun as shit if you could watch it because the hitters are actually fairly decent. The starting pitchers are okay. The relief pitchers are complete fucking garbage. So it is going everywhere. The only thing I have learned about Korean baseball is if you are going to bet on anything, always take the over.
Yeah.
Like 80% of the time it's over.
Yeah.
So
I made a bet the other day. It was no runs in the first inning. And I was like, oh, that could totally fucking happen. No runs in the first inning. Yeah, I lost that bet.
Yeah. The first Korean baseball game I watched was it was the LG Twins and the NC Dinos. And the starting pitcher used to be a major league pitcher, and he gave up 6 runs before he got an out. It was pretty damn funny. And again, that was a game I took the over, and I was like, I'm a fucking genius.
So were you actually watching the game on TV?
Yeah. I stayed up and watched it until 4 a.m.
That's dedication.
It was one of those that it was a Saturday night, so I just started watching it at 11 and watched it all the way through.
That's awesome.
But it's kind of fun to watch Boog Shambi do the play-by-play. It's usually him and Jessica Mendoza doing the call for most of the Korean baseball games on ESPN.
Interesting.
If you are wanting to stay awake, at all hours of the fucking night.
Pass.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
I've been into betting on Russian table tennis because why not?
So are you just live betting this, or are you just betting like before the start of the match?
I'm usually live betting the table tennis. My man Dennis Sayanov, who's actually playing right now, has won me a bunch of money. He's lost me a little bit as well, but I try to trick the system or whatever sometimes with the table tennis, and I'll wait for a guy to be 2 sets up and see if the odds are still like at -200 or something, because sometimes it'll be that way.
Yeah,
I can just bet like $40 and win 44 or something like that, whatever it is. Or I'll bet $40 and win 50, or it'll pay out 50, right? So I'll win $10. Just betting when he's already won 2 sets, he just needs one more. The odds haven't shot through the roof yet.
Yeah.
Those are the things that I kind of bet a lot. So I'm not like taking massive risks or anything.
I don't know why, but every time I've tried to do the live betting, as soon as I try to do the bet, it tells me that the betting is suspended.
Really?
I've only gotten, I think, 2 live bets in.
I do it all the time. Sometimes I'll get that suspended thing as well. Their app could really use some work. I think DraftKings has probably been overloaded in the last couple of months with new users. But
are you trying to give us motion sickness? What are you doing, Adam?
Yeah, I know. Adam, figure it out, buddy. But
finger out of your ass.
DraftKings just dropped their stock, their IPO, like a month ago. and it opened at like 18 and a half or $19. I think it's at 29 now.
I can only imagine it's going to go higher and higher with sports betting. So
yeah, I'm afraid to get in now because I'm afraid it might drop before it goes back up. But eventually it'll go back up with sports betting just expanding across the country. I think it's going to be opening up in more states as these experiments in states like ours and stuff are doing fine. Like New Jersey, thankfully, was the first one to do it, and it's gone fine there. So,
yeah.
So let me ask you a question. So you guys both use DraftKings, correct?
Yeah.
So I've been using FanDuel. Is there anything particular about DraftKings that you like? Have either of you ever used FanDuel?
No. Well, I've used FanDuel to do daily fantasy, but I've never used it for actual sports betting.
I'd imagine they're the same.
Yeah. The only thing I like about DraftKings is the odds boost thing, because those are sometimes kind of fun if you just pick something random, because they have 5 or 6 of them every day that you can just kind of pick one out. And the odds are usually crazy high, so you can pick something that's like plus 800 and bet $3 on it, and you might win 25.
Yeah.
I have a bet in. I had a bet in today that I put $3 down, and it would have paid out $48 if I would have won. I think that was yesterday. It was a 3-team parlay on the German soccer that I ended up losing. But if I would have won, I would have won $48, and I put $3 down. So
that's not bad.
Does DraftKings or does FanDuel do stuff like that, or is it just
not
straight betting?
I mean,
they're straight up, just like the straight up bets or whatever, but I haven't played around with it enough. I haven't even found the parlay thing yet.
So you usually just have to select more than one bet at once.
Yeah. You can, I think in ours on the bet slip, once you select one team, it sends you to the bet slip and you can hit add. You go and add other things to the bet.
Okay. I got you. And maybe it may be the same way on FanDuel, and I just haven't figured that out yet. But I don't remember seeing any of the boosts, though. That would be – I think that would add like that extra little fun little perk to it.
I think most of those are like those sucker bets they offer. But sometimes, I mean, like Greg and I on last weekend's UFC, what was it? It was a minus 1,000 bet that they odds boosted to plus 100. Was it plus 100? Yeah. And we ended up doubling up on like a super easy bet. It was
basically if you
the main event was going to be as long as it lasted longer than 11 seconds, you won. So
yeah, so the fight lasts longer than 11 seconds, you double your money. I should have bet more.
Yeah. See, I should have bet everything I had in my account on that.
Yeah,
I think they put a limit on those though, so like you could only the max bet on that was probably like $250 or
I only have $100.
That might have been $50 or something like that.
That's what I did with 50.
Because I heard you guys talking about that prior to the fight, and I started looking for that and I couldn't find it. So that was just something specific to DraftKings that
correct
FanDuel doesn't have.
Mm-hmm. DraftKings was honoring like it had to do with Tebow beating the Pittsburgh Steelers in overtime. So it was it was Gaethje and Ferguson, right? So it was Ferguson versus Gaethje versus Tebow. And the fight lasted longer than 11 seconds, which was longer than the Pittsburgh Steelers defense lasted in overtime in that playoff game. And you won the payout, basically. So it was a gimme bet. They even called it a gimme bet on the system. Yeah. But it's one of those specials, and I'm sure FanDuel has their own that you can look for, but I know DraftKings has them.
You'd think they would. I don't know. I haven't messed around on FanDuel. I haven't even downloaded the app, so. But I've been kind of curious if the like the main betting sites like Bovada and the other ones, like if they're different or if they're essentially the same. Because sometimes on different betting sites you can get slightly different odds.
Yeah, each casino will have their own odds.
Yeah,
I think these ones are probably owned by Caesars. Or
I have no idea what they're owned by.
I'm certain that they're owned by casino company that's like one of the big ones.
See, and I thought it was just
Like one of the umbrella corporation that owns like multiple casinos also owns.
Right, like how Disney owns everything these days. One of the
Right.
casino companies owns both FanDuel and DraftKings. I can assure you. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to bet them in Colorado because it has to be a casino that's operating in Colorado or a casino company that's operating in Colorado in order for us to be able to bet on them. And what that means is somebody who's got an interest in one of the actual casinos that are in Blackhawk, owns FanDuel or whatever. So otherwise we wouldn't be able to use them.
Do any of the casinos in Blackhawk have a sports book yet? Do we know?
They have sports books now, or they will.
Okay.
As of May 1st, I'm sure they do.
I would think they would, but I haven't heard anything.
They didn't before because it was illegal, but they will now. As a result of the COVID-19 stuff, I'm not sure. But maybe that put a delay on them actually doing that because I doubt they even have people in the casinos at this point. But
yeah, I mean, if I found what's that?
The plan was for them to open those up.
Yeah,
on May 1st.
But I think if I found out they had it, I would use whatever app they are using because then you accrue points up there and then you can get all kinds of free shit if you actually go up.
Maybe, yeah. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. I would guess.
I don't think I go up the hill and gamble enough for that to matter for me, to be honest. The points.
But if you're sports betting all the time, then you're building up all this stuff, and you can get like free nights probably up there.
There.
Who knows? Maybe we'll find out when they start.
Up to. You've said like 3 words.
The weed advertisements here.
Adam.
Sorry, I'm looking up DraftKings.
We can count on Adam to never be paying attention to what we're doing on the podcast.
I see the world.
Yeah. Just sitting there being a degenerate while we're podcasting.
Pretty much.
Do you guys listen to any betting podcasts?
Mm-mm.
No, I mean, I think betting is starting to get incorporated into a lot of different podcasts, but I don't listen to any that are specific to betting. I mean, I know that the Ringer NFL show has had several betting episodes recently, and like Lombardi on his podcast talks about betting all the time. But
there's one with Uncle Sal from the Ringer.
Right, it's House Bets, right?
I can't remember what exactly it's.
Or no, that's House Eats. It's the Degenerates or something.
Yeah, that's what they call themselves, but I don't remember what I'll have to look it up. Here, give me a second. I listen to it occasionally. I haven't listened to it for a couple weeks though.
Yeah, as you got into the height of your
as I started sports betting, I just stopped listening to it. So,
Adam, what's new in your neck of the woods?
Against all odds.
Yeah, there it is.
That's what it's called.
Not a whole lot new down here. Just working on the house like it seems like all of us have been doing during this free extra time that we have available. Aaron was showing pictures. He's been out working in the yard. I did that last weekend.
That's all I've been doing.
No. Replacing dimmer switches and not burning the house down.
Yeah, well, that too. But all I've had time to do, or all I've done lately, is yard work because I have nothing else to do. They're not going to let us. Well, we got to be fair. I mean, in Colorado, we've been toning down the quarantine. If you go out right now, you would never know that we were in quarantine except for the fact that everybody has masks on.
Yep.
And the lines to get into Home Depot.
Which is ridiculous.
Yeah, for fuck's sake. The lines everywhere are so long.
Why is Home Depot doing a line but Lowe's isn't?
So Home Depot basically, like the way it appears to me, I don't know if there's a specific reason behind it, but Home Depot is only allowing a certain amount of people in the store, and then there's no line inside to go check out.
you just walk up and you can just check out. Versus Lowe's, you can walk right into the store and then you stand in line to go check out. So Home Depot just decided to make everybody wait outside versus wait in line inside.
Yeah. Home Depot's
Lowe's
crowded than Lowe's on a typical day too. So they're worried about that traffic. But the spacing at Lowe's is 6 feet apart in the lines.
Right.
Well, and then they have somebody who comes around and scans all your stuff. All you have to do is give them your phone number when you get up there, and it's all rung up.
Yep. I would prefer that because there's with all the projects that all of us are doing, I'm sure you guys have run into it where you just need to run to the store and grab.
Mm-hmm.
Like I ripped out a bathroom and I needed the little taps or the valves that turn off the water to the sink. One of mine was dripping and I was getting brand new hardwood laid right there and stained and all this stuff. And I couldn't have it just constantly dripping on the new floor. So I had to go stand in line outside to go get a valve so I could replace it. And it's a pain in the ass.
I went to Lowe's twice on Friday and once on Saturday. So
it's not as
back
bad
today
during
if
the
I
week.
wanted to.
It's not as bad during the week. The weekends, hell no. It's got to be an emergency before I'm going.
Yeah, it's really bad on the weekends, but the Home Depot, even over here, like Parker and Chambers or whatever, is just packed during the week. As soon as they lifted the stay at home and went to safer at home, it's been I don't even want to go in. The line's so long outside. I did it once because I'm trying to get stain, and the only place they sell it is at the depot, the Home Depot.
The Home Depot.
Yeah, I went there yesterday to that exact one, and I have to go back because what I bought isn't the right size. So now I have to fucking return it, and I don't want to.
Yeah.
The worst.
See what I want down somewhere near my house is an Ace Hardware. Because a lot of the stuff that I end up needing to go to Home Depot for is stuff that Ace would carry. Like little valves and, different little specific parts.
They don't have one in Parker?
No.
Really?
The closest one is by Southlands or Highlands Ranch. That's the only two Ace Hardwares near us. So the closest to me being Home Depot, so stand out in line, or out by 20 Mile, there's a Lowe's. So.
Is this the first time in history that my beard has been longer than your guys' beard?
Mine's longer than it looks. It's just
Okay.
dark.
Mine is too, I think, but I've got a pretty decent beard going.
I don't have that option anymore. So mine's got to stay short.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had to go to work since, early March. Shaved. I mean,
And
the mustache trimmed, but the rest.
I will say that your beard on camera looks less scraggly than it does in person.
It does look
it's bad. You need to get some trimmers on there to trim out the ones that are sticking out like 2 inches further than the rest of them.
I say fuck it. I'm just gonna hold on to them for the time being.
You do you, buddy. Keep going.
Yeah. I don't have anywhere to go or anybody to impress.
I expect full mountain man beard by the time we actually meet up for the first time because I don't know when that's going to be.
Yeah, so long as I don't have to go to work, I'm not shaving it. So,
have they told you if you have to go back or when?
No word yet. I mean, for the time being, because the nature of my job is just fit for work from home. So
yeah,
there's no reason for them to force us back ahead of time. So it's just all I've gotten word on is indefinite.
So we got word, I don't know, a day or two ago. Looks like by the 1st, we're going to go back to our regular schedule and not getting the extra days off and all that kind of stuff. So it was fun while it lasted, but
I didn't even get any of that. So I've been going to work the whole time.
My wife got furloughed, so I'm ready for that to all be over.
Any word on that?
I think the original plan was 90 days, but we'll see. We're getting unemployment pay, so
That's cool.
hooray for government.
I guess that works.
Yeah. I mean, we'd be okay without it, but we're going to take it. I'm not going to say no.
I mean, if they're going to give you $600, you might as well take it.
Yeah, it's more than that. So
Well, that's even an added bonus.
get your regular pay pretty much, or you get like 80% of your regular pay plus the $600 or something.
Really?
I don't know what it is. You get like part of what your regular pay would be, and then you get the $600 on top of it. I think it's not just that you just get $600 because it's COVID. You get like whatever your unemployment would have been plus the $600 is like a bonus of the COVID stuff. So
Can I get fired?
yeah, right. I'll tell you what, she's not really looking for a job super hard at the moment. So
Wouldn't imagine so. If she's basically,
Oh,
yeah.
I actually read an article yesterday. There was a bar/restaurant in Maryland that can't reopen because they can't get their employees to come back to work because they're making more money unemployed than they were at the restaurant. So,
yeah,
I mean, the harsh reality of that is eventually that's going to end, and then you're finding a new job because you're not going to have your old one to go back to at that point.
Mhm.
I think they're banking on the fact that the restaurants and bars will be open when they come back, or when their unemployment runs out. And I mean, how hard is it to get a fucking restaurant or bar job?
Yeah.
I say never having held a restaurant or bar job in my life. So
It wasn't that hard.
yeah, okay,
Ask AOC.
yeah.
Who's AOC? What is that?
Whatever, Alexandria Cortez, the senator or congresswoman.
Yeah, she's in the house.
She's in the House. She went from bartender to congresswoman.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Didn't
She's
know
a
that.
socialist and wants you to quit your job and revolt.
Yeah, she's the one that created the Green New Deal. Or helped. She didn't create it, but she's pushing it. Like that's the one where cows.
I think she did create it.
Yeah, cows aren't allowed to fart. Says it right there in the thing. Get rid of farting. Get rid of farting cows.
What are they going to do with you?
I don't know. Get rid of me.
I mean, the in the sources of toxins in the air, I think it's cows farting, and then like right below that is Adam.
yeah. That's very possible.
Methane levels in Adam's house. How have you not blown up your house yet? You must not use candles or natural gas or.
You guys hear my dryer go off? We're doing laundry.
I did not.
Okay, good. It was super loud.
I also know airplanes, so you can't fly anywhere.
Yeah. We've turned into anything but whiskey and sports podcast. All of a
I
sudden.
know we are full on off the fucking rails right now.
I think that's just mostly because there hasn't been a history of sports in the last several weeks to talk about. They're starting, but what do you talk about? Like, hey, they're starting, but they're, then you're kind of like, you're blank.
We did think about getting into sports conspiracy theories.
I was gonna say I have a conspiracy theory. I want to hear what you guys think about.
I'm in.
So it's that Kirk Cousins is actually a cyborg, and rather than giving him the operating system of a Terminator to be actually good at football, they gave him C-3PO, so he's just a weirdo. Thoughts?
What evidence do you have to back up your conspiracy theory?
He's basically a Mormon that plays football.
So
Tim
Tim Tebow was the greatest quarterback in the history of football, and he's super religious.
But he's not that. But Kirk Cousins isn't all that good. Tim Tebow was actually kind of fun. He could run and do all kinds of fun stuff.
There is a bit of.
Have you ever actually seen Kirk Cousins run? No. I think it's because he would run like C-3PO, all weird and stop motiony.
To squirrel moment from that, do you think if Tim Tebow was a quarterback in the NFL now, that his career would be different?
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, think of him and then think of Josh Allen.
Yeah.
How far apart is that? Not that far.
Yeah, I could
Poor
see
guy
it.
was a victim of his time. Really, he was the first of a trend. He could have been, if he would have entered the draft this year, he probably would have picked number 1 overall or number 2 behind Burrow or whatever.
Yep.
And then he would have gone to some team that would have tailored the entire system around him, and they would have been fine.
I was thinking that actually last night as I was watching Korean baseball.
How did you get from Korean baseball to Tim Tebow?
I don't know. It was because they were actually, no, it wasn't Korean baseball. It was when I was watching The Last Dance. And how Michael Jordan and Tim Tebow's stat lines are very, very similar for their careers.
We should talk about The Last Dance a little bit. The last episodes are airing tonight, episodes 9 and 10. Aaron, did you get a chance to catch up with 7 and 8?
Yeah, I did. I watched them last night.
Adam, have you watched it at all?
I've caught the first like 2 or 3. I haven't been able to watch all of them yet.
Okay. I'm a huge basketball fan, and I know you guys are not. But you're aware of who Michael Jordan was, and I'm sure you saw him play a couple of times. But what were
never heard of him.
Yeah, what were your thoughts about Michael Jordan before you watched the documentary compared to now?
I always kind of thought he was probably the best basketball player ever, and to me, this just solidified that thought.
Did you know why you thought he was the best basketball player ever?
I mean, when I was 12, I was like, oh, this guy's really good at basketball. So pretty much what I stuck with.
You're just like, it's what I thought when I was little. So
Yep. I mean, it just kind of stuck with what I assumed was what he actually was. I mean, he was the most prolific scorer in a time when it was legal to essentially murder somebody on the court.
He was also all NBA defense, though, as well. I think what really separates Jordan from, a lot of the other great basketball players, and maybe this is something that was unique to the 80s because I think Bird and Magic had this as well, and Isaiah had it. Charles Barkley had it. He just never quite – he just ran into Michael Jordan in the finals. That was his problem. But I'm not sure I feel it as much from some of the guys today. You felt it a little bit in Kobe, but it's because Kobe modeled everything he did after what Jordan did. Is that competitive fire? He just had such a desire to win, and he just had such a desire to be the best that he literally burned himself out twice trying to do it. He burned himself out the first time. 3 angry dogs. As my dryer goes off. All right. So
I heard it that time.
Yeah. He burned himself out in 93, between 91 and 93, really, in that title run. Came back and then burned himself out again between 90, and 98 in those 3 seasons, just by working so hard and demanding so much of himself. This is a guy who never took a night off. He didn't have any of those rest days that these guys are doing today. I'm not trying to be like a grumpy old man of like, it was so much, things were so much better in the 90s or in the 80s or whatever.
Right.
Not necessarily the case. The players today are incredible and they're just as good at basketball and, I'm sure they care about winning and stuff, but Michael Jordan was psychotic about winning almost. He was like a winning sociopath in the sense that he would do whatever it took. He would push his teammates in whatever way he had to push them in order to make sure that his team won, in order to make sure that he won, because he was just driven so much. And it's kind of cool to see how that played out in practices, how that played out in, just like in his everyday life, like he would gamble on card games and play golf against people, and was the same level of competitiveness towards all of that.
And it's the same. You see that same kind of drive, like across sports. It's not just like obviously with Jordan and basketball. You see that same kind of passion and just intense drive in guys like Tiger Woods in golf.
Right.
He's just super intense, and he pushes and pushes and pushes and pushes himself to be the best every single time he's out on a golf course. So, and even in football, it's guys like Peyton Manning that just they study and study and study and study and practice and practice and practice and just until they want it perfect. They want everything they do to be perfect, and they push. Like if it's a team sport, football, basketball, they push everyone around them to be perfect so that everything works better and works in concert with each other. So
they come off like assholes sometimes in that sense. And
right.
From Peyton Manning sometimes when he make faces on the sideline when his kicker missed a kick, or when he'd holler at somebody for not running the right route or whatever. I think it's interesting that you said Peyton Manning and not Tom Brady, but I think Peyton Manning was pathological in his pursuit of perfection in a different way. Yes, he wanted to win everything, but he was also he had an appreciation for the art of offensive football, whereas Tom Brady wants to win football games. I think Tom Brady is a more apt comparison to what Mike was doing back then, in just his intense competitiveness. Like when you see him yelling at McDaniels on the sideline or yelling at his receivers on the sideline, it's because he's so competitive and strives for such a higher level of achievement than maybe some of what these other guys are used to.
The biggest difference I see between a guy like Tom Brady and then Peyton Manning, and with same with Jordan. Jordan, I think, like you said, does compare better probably with Tom Brady. They want to win so bad, they almost don't care who they hurt in the process. Where Manning, is more of a, not that he cares about every single person, but
I think he does.
Yeah, he wants to. He doesn't want to make you mad. Like he would come and talk to you, as opposed to just screaming at you. So he's better. He was better at approaching people and talking to them calmly about what they could have done and what they didn't do, as opposed to just the in-your-face yelling, screaming.
I don't know. Peyton Manning will let you know if you messed up, but then he'd write you a handwritten letter later and send it to your house.
Right.
To explain what was going on. I think another guy that maybe we could compare to somebody like Jordan would be like Dale Earnhardt. Kind of guy who's just an intense competitor that would have done anything to win. And that's why I think it was so heartbreaking when he died pushing his son to victory, because it was the only time in his entire career that he had done anything that wasn't in his own best interest, really.
Right.
So interesting. Do you think that kind of intense competitiveness was a product of that time period of the 80s and 90s, when we see, or maybe even the early 2000s, when we see guys like Dale Earnhardt or Jordan or Bird or Magic or Isaiah or whoever, or Tom Brady, Peyton Manning in the early 2000s coming out of college at that time? Do you think that intense competitiveness was a product of that time period specifically, or is that something we still see in athletes that are coming out today?
I think you do see it you see a level of it in athletes today, but I think growing up in for some of those guys, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, I wasn't alive back then. But everything you hear from parents and grandparents and stuff like that, it was you have to make yourself. You have to be a self-made man. You have to work hard to get what you want, and that kind of thing was kind of driven into you. Because parents, for kids who grew up in the 60s, you had their parents growing up in the 30s and 40s, and the Great Depression, all this kind of stuff kind of was still fresh in everybody's mind, kind of through those earlier generations. So it was a work hard to get what you want. And I think, that was kind of driven into the heads of kids, coming up through some of those generations. And those guys just kind of took it to that next level.
Yeah, I wonder sometimes if Kobe Bryant was the last of a rare breed of ultra competitive, like, work hard athletes, or if like, is there still a guy out there like that? Like,
That's competitive, like Michael Jordan.
yeah,
No.
that just works that hard.
I don't know that there is that talented of an athlete. I don't think that's a thing anymore.
Well,
So talented, work hard, but I think it's then also, so I need to add in, it has to be that ultra, that like psychotic competitive aspect to it.
The closest.
I think Kobe might have been the last guy.
Yeah, Kobe was probably.
You've got guys like LeBron, that super talented, a physical freak.
Works very hard.
He works hard, but he's not that next level psychotic about winning.
Like, is he worried about his legacy, or is he worried about his brand?
I think it's more about his brand than what he is about being a pure basketball player.
Exactly.
Time will tell. I think LeBron's extremely competitive, and I think he's definitely worried about his basketball legacy. I think a guy like Kevin Durant is extremely worried about what his basketball legacy is too. So we'll see how that kind of stuff plays out. It's going to be really hard for us to, like, you can't look at a guy like Tua or something and be like, that's the guy that's going to be the next Jordan, because you haven't seen his ultra competitiveness play out in that sense yet.
I think so. Going back to Durant, I see Durant more as like a more talented Pippen. Like, he's
way more talented.
He's way more talented. Like so many more levels up, but he doesn't have the psychotic nature of forcing his team to win championships. Like, he that's just not in him.
Did you watch the 2018 Warriors?
Yeah, that wasn't Kevin Durant.
Nah, Kevin Durant won that series. He won the NBA
on talent, but
Finals MVP.
Not on off the court, forcing his teammates into being better players.
That was probably Steph Curry and Steve Kerr, who was a part of those Bulls teams. And Steve Kerr is notoriously ultra competitive as well. But I think Steph Curry has a little bit of that in him. I think that's why Kevin Durant's not in Golden State anymore, is because maybe he just didn't appreciate that culture. But I do think he's got a little anger in him, and you need a little bit of that. It's interesting to think. It's hard to compare between different sports, and I'm just not sure that there's a guy. I can't include Tom Brady anymore because, he's 43 and he plays for Tampa Bay now. So, like, is there a guy in football that's like that anymore?
I don't know that there's a guy in football that can impact a game like that, though.
Maybe Pat Mahomes.
Maybe, but he seems like he's super competitive, but he doesn't seem like he's the guy who is going to drive his teammates to need to be better, because the team they put around him is insanely talented already.
Fair.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see, once Mahomes hits that super big contract and they can't afford, all the flashy, fancy receivers around him. What is he going to be able to pick his team up and carry them, or is he going to kind of turn back into that more towards the average NFL quarterback?
I think Patrick Mahomes is good.
He's really good.
He's definitely good. He's definitely good, but is he good enough to make his receivers? Is he good enough to take, like, Tom Brady's receivers from the Patriots and make them some of the best in the league?
Fair. How do you feel about Aaron Rodgers' career, though?
I like Aaron Rodgers a lot, and he does have that competitive nature to him, and he would be similar to that, but he's fallen off a lot the last few
I'm just
years.
saying, like, has Aaron Rodgers, even though he's one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, been able to lift his team up over having no offensive support whatsoever?
His entire career?
More than once.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, more than once. But he's also, that's the thing with the difference between basketball and football, is the number of players, and you're only on the field half the time. You can't impact the game the entire game like Jordan did.
Even in hockey, you're running shifts and stuff, so it's hard for somebody like a Sidney Crosby or a Nathan McKinnon or Ovechkin, or even though those guys have been competitive and 2 of them have won titles, it's hard for them to impact the game in such a way because they have to leave the ice every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the guys in the NFL that you could maybe put in that same kind of category, a lot of those guys left in the 90s. We're talking like Jerry Rice and Bo Jackson. And
Ray Lewis was one of those guys.
Ray Lewis was definitely one of those guys. But when you look at the NFL today, the majority, not all, but I think the majority of them are worried about their health and their paycheck. They want to stay healthy. They want to have a paycheck. Are they that worried about winning a Super Bowl? I don't think as many of them are as what we would will.
I think they are. It's just not the most important thing to them. The only thing that was important to Michael Jordan was winning. That other stuff came with it, and it was cool. And, he invented having a brand. I mean, he is the reason that you can have a brand now, in air quotes. But in reality, the only thing that really mattered to him was winning. He would have given all of that up to have won a championship in the 80s, But, I'm not here to blame anybody for going after their money, for worrying about their health, especially in a sport like football. It's just like I think it takes a special human being to be that ultra competitive, and it takes somebody who's willing to hurt people who are close to them. It takes somebody who's willing to not give a shit what all the people around you think about you. It takes a special person to have that kind of level of respect amongst the people that you're working with, to be that kind of level of an asshole and have it still work. You know what I mean? Because Jordan doesn't come off as a great dude sometimes in some of those, like, particularly in episodes 7 and 8. He doesn't come off like a real great dude, but it ends up becoming justified in the sense that he won. He pushed teammates to that extra level. He trusted Steve Kerr to do what he was supposed to do and to train hard enough, to work hard enough to be able to hit that game-winning shot. He dealt with Rodman's bullshit enough to be able to push him
I loved Rodman.
Those rebounds and to work hard for Jordan. He made Rodman work hard for him.
Right.
So that they could win championships. I mean, he made Pippen into his Robin, into the Robin to his Batman, just by sheer force of will. Now, Pippen could have been a top 25 all-time basketball player on any other team in his own career, but he took a back seat and let Jordan be the alpha, just so that they could win titles. And it takes a special kind of person to force other guys to do that.
Just a quick squirrel moment on Pippen. Like, when they were talking about like how like his contract thing worked out and all that kind of stuff, like you almost felt bad for him. He took the contract thinking, okay, this is probably going to be good, and then all of a sudden it just blew up, and like he's making pennies on other guys' dollars, and he's still like first, second, and in some categories third all time for the Bulls, and he's making nothing in comparison.
Yeah,
he took that long-term deal.
He was somewhere in the neighborhood of like the 120th highest paid player in the NBA.
Right.
Top 2 or 3 in scoring and assists and rebounds.
Yeah.
So that leads to another question then of particularly to Aaron, since you've watched more of the show, but like, how do you feel about Jerry Krause? They definitely have set him up as the villain in the documentary. He deserves some credit as well for putting that team together and building that championship squad twice.
Yep.
Even though he blew it up for not getting any of the credit for it. I mean, it seems like he blew it up out of spite.
Are you saying he is the Carol Baskin of the Bulls?
He's the bad guy in Space Jam.
He does look like a tiny little troll. So, I mean, he does fit the mold, but I mean, his GM skills were there, but I don't know what he couldn't do it without Jordan. Like you could see it because they were decent. The year and a half? I think it was a season and a half without Jordan. They were okay, but they weren't going to win a championship. I didn't think they were going to.
I mean, they made the conference finals
Yeah.
in '95.
But then didn't they get blown up by the Pistons?
Or '94. No, it was
'94.
the first year that Jordan had retired. They made the conference semifinals, and they were like a shot away from making the conference finals.
The Knicks. It was the Knicks.
Yeah, it was the Knicks that knocked them out.
Yeah.
No, they did make the conference finals. The Knicks knocked them out, went to the finals,
Yep.
and lost to the Rockets. But look, I mean, that was still a good team. I think part of the reason that they were less successful the following year when Jordan came back halfway through was just because the team wasn't as good. I mean, they lost Horace Grant, went to the Magic, and that was a big loss for them. When Jordan came back, they ended up going on like a huge tear. And then they just ran into one of the like great teams of that decade that is super underappreciated in the Orlando Magic. I mean, they had young Shaq. They had Horace Grant, who was in his like, peak years. They had Penny Hardaway, who was fucking incredible back then.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Anderson. I mean, they had a ton of great players on that Magic team. And again, that Magic team just ran into the Houston Rockets when they were ready to be winning championships. So I'm not sure that the Jordan teams would be those Houston teams. Who knows?
They might have. We'll never know, but
it could just be like serendipitous luck that Jordan retired for a year and a half at the exact time where he might not have continued his championship winning period. I mean, people like to assume, oh, well, Jordan would have won 8 in a row if he hadn't retired. Well, maybe not. But it required some rebuilding from Jerry Krause in order to get them back to that championship level in 95, 96. And that's when he brought in Dennis Rodman, who was a key piece for that. Just like he traded Oakley and brought in Bill Cartwright when they needed that particular thing to happen, even though, Oakley was loved in Chicago in the first go round. Well, this time Horace Grant goes and they bring in Dennis Rodman and they needed that piece. So he did the good things that a GM should be doing, right?
Yeah. It's just not every day you're going to come across somebody as good as Jordan to do the scoring your team needs to. I mean, they still scored enough points to make a conference championship. They just couldn't make it over that ledge because they didn't have the scoring and they didn't have that forceful leadership that he forced into people. He made them better by just picking everything apart in practice.
Well, what I've noticed too in the doc is that it's kind of interesting that Jordan would find any tiny little reason pissed off and go off on some team. Like, some rookie scores 26 points against him in the first time they meet, so he scores 55 the next time they play, or whatever it is. Like he hears something in the media about this guy's like, I don't care about playing the Bulls. So Jordan makes sure that guy remembers it and, torches him for 40 and wins the game or whatever. He just never took a night off from that kind of shit. Like, yeah, Adam, you in our text chain were talking about Jordan talking about Mutombo.
Yeah.
Well, the famous scene between Jordan and Mutombo is when Mutombo was giving him shit at the foul line. And so Jordan was like, yeah, you're going to give me shit? I'm going to make this with my eyes closed. And he shuts his eyes for the free throw and makes it, right? It's those little tiny things that Jordan was constantly doing. He was finding slight in everything. Like they said, he scored what was it? He went out with Danny Ainge and played golf the day before they played the Celtics in what was the 86 playoffs or something like that. The 86 Celtics were probably the best team of all time. I mean, no shit. Best team of all time. He goes out and puts like 50, what was it? He put 63 on the Celtics in game 2. They lost that game still because the Celtics were amazing. But he put 63 on him because he was mad that Danny Ainge hustled him in golf the day before. He finds these little things to be pissed off about over the course of his career, and he uses those as motivation to just embarrass somebody.
Or like 93 when George Karl didn't come over and say hi at a restaurant. He's like, "Fuck you! I'm gonna burn your team down," and he just torched him for 4 games.
Right. I think that was 96, but
Was that 96? Yeah.
yeah. But it's just those little things that he finds in his game of just like he went and gambled one night and got caught doing it in the middle of the finals, and they gave him all kinds of shit about it. So he put 55 on the Knicks in the Garden in the playoffs the next night, just to be like, I can do whatever I want. I'm Michael Jordan. I'll stay up until 3 a.m. gambling and smoking cigars, and I'm still gonna toast your ass, right?
That is the thing that I always thought was really funny is that guy smokes cigars like a fucking chimney and is still amazing at basketball. I mean, he's running constantly, and you would have no idea that he smoked all the time.
He said he didn't even start working out until like 89 or something. Like when the Pistons started beating him up.
By the Pistons?
Yeah.
And I just scrolled back to like comparisons for guys like Michael Jordan. You could take somebody like a Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
And compare him to somebody like Michael Jordan in his own sport.
Let's segue out of The Last Dance and talk about Mike Tyson then a little bit. He's talking about a comeback.
Yeah.
Have you seen the commercials with him recently? It was a commercial or it was some video that I saw of him just tearing a bag up. Like the dude with the mitts.
Yeah.
He was going ape shit and looked to be in phenomenal shape.
Like 2 months ago, it was probably January. I remember seeing a video of him just like in a bar talking to somebody, showing them a combination, and he looked terrifying then, and he was still out of shape. And now he's in shape and much faster. That dude, he could actually probably still compete. I don't know what's going on there.
How much would you drop for the Mike Tyson pay-per-view against anybody right now?
It sounds like he's going to fight Buster Douglas, is what I hear.
What?
Yeah, it sounds like it's a charity fight it's him and Buster Douglas. I've heard this twice now.
My house fight done.
Yeah,
I want Mike Tyson to fight somebody who's still fighting because I want to see if he's still got it. But like, it doesn't have to be like a top contender, and he could fight somebody who's like 40. Like, you know, I don't care who it is. There's got to be a 40-year-old heavyweight that's still out there that is like, you know,
still hanging on, kind
a
of
little bit. But on the downside, I would love to see Mike Tyson fight that guy.
That would be super fun to watch.
But watching him fight like a 50-year-old Buster Douglas, who is probably a donut by now.
It sounds like they're both really into this and training pretty hard. So
no, I'm sure Buster Douglas is in it. He's like, "You want to pay me how much?"
Yeah,
yeah.
I haven't
by Mike Tyson for that much.
Buster Douglas, but yeah.
I mean, how much would they have to pay you to be in the Mike Tyson rematch or like reunion fight or whatever?
I don't think I want to get punched by Mike Tyson at all.
What if we did a Mike Tyson versus Brock Lesnar boxing match?
Well, no, thank you.
Brock Lesnar would die because Mike Tyson would punch him in the gut once, activate his diverticulitis, and then he'd shit his drawers.
Brock Lesnar is really a boxer. I mean, if you want to
also not a boxer at all.
pick a guy who can actually box.
I was just trying to think of somebody just fucking big.
I don't even know who are
like Chuck Liddell or somebody.
Is that like Leonard? Was it Leonard? Why'd I blank his last name? Floyd?
How about that guy we saw fight last night, Overeem?
in just a boxing match.
Yeah, dude's 40 now. He's been in the game for 22 years.
Ooh, Overeem.
I don't think he would accept it.
He's so much bigger though. Because what is Tyson? Maybe 240 at his peak.
What are you talking about?
Weight class. Because Overeem.
He was a heavyweight.
I know, but right now there's no way he's 240. He's probably cut down.
Oh, I'll bet Mike Tyson's still at least 235.
265 is the top end. and that's where
in
Overeem is.
UFC, not in actual boxing. What do you think Tyson Fury weighs? That guy's like 270, 280.
I have no idea.
Yeah, there's no top limit in boxing.
Oh, is there not? Okay, I didn't know they're just unlimited.
Heavyweights don't make weight. You just have to be above the heavyweight weight.
You just have to be above 265.
And you have to be above 205 or 215 or something for heavyweight in boxing.
I thought
Light heavyweight might be like 195 to 205, and then above that is heavyweight or something like that.
Oh, okay. See, and I thought light heavyweight would have been 215.
It could be, yeah. I'm just shooting off out of my ass here, but it's somewhere around that range. I think heavyweight's above 215, then we'll put it at that. But I don't think there's a top limit, because I guarantee you Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder both came in at like 265, 270 for that fight. Are you looking it up right now?
I'm looking up heavyweight boxers he could fight. See if I know any of them. Ooh, he could fight the corpse that's
The last good boxing match we saw was a heavyweight fight, so.
Yeah, I don't know any of these guys, and most of them are dead. Ooh, Lennox Lewis.
He's
Super
56.
old. Yeah, he's super old.
Yeah, Lennox Lewis is 56 right now. He's
Jesus,
a
really?
little past
54, but yes.
for 54. What about no, he's old too.
What about one of the Klitschko's?
I was gonna say, what about Klitschko? He's 48.
I think that'd be an acceptable fight. That guy's probably in like Ukrainian politics now, but I think one of them was like he was like a senator or president of something.
Yeah, Vladimir Klitschko is 44.
That'd be a good fight.
Be a good fight.
Klitschko's fucking huge too.
Yeah, he's 6'6", 240.
Yeah, Mike Tyson will have to stand on a stool to punch him in the face.
What is Tyson? He's like 5'11".
I mean, Tyson fought Holyfield. Holyfield's a big dude too. I think Holyfield's like 6'4".
What about Anthony Joshua?
I'd love to see that.
That'd be fun.
I think Joshua's still a little bit in the mix. What about that Ruiz kid that actually beat Joshua?
Trying to think of what that kid's name was.
Yeah, I remember
Ruiz.
watching the highlights on Twitter, but I don't remember what his name was.
He's kind of pudgy. He's a big hitter though. He's
Andy Ruiz.
There you go.
that'd be a perfect matchup for Mike Tyson right now.
Yeah.
Because he's not like super athletic and ripped or anything, but he can hit, and he's a good boxer. I mean, he had the title for a little while.
Yeah. He can hit hard. That would be decent.
We've set it up. Call Don King. Let him know.
There you go. Is Don King still alive? Anybody know?
Who knows? Call Don King Jr. Don
So
King
if you wanted to match up another 40-year-old, you got Alexander Povetkin. He's a Russian dude, 6'2", 228.
USA versus Russia. We're getting the second Cold War. As long as he gives a speech at the end where he's like, "We can all just get along together."
Like Creed. It's like Creed 4.
Yeah. Tyson is Creed's new trainer. Yeah.
Yep. Actually, that would be a fun fight. Is to watch the Creed actor actually box somebody.
Oh, so let's have this. How about what if Michael B. Jordan, the Creed actor,
There you go. That's what his name is.
Michael B. Jordan fights Will Smith in a guys who played boxers in movies fist fight, boxing match.
Michael B. Jordan would murder Will Smith.
Did you
Will
see
Smith
how
would be
ripped
dead.
Will Smith got for that Ali film though?
Yeah, Will Smith would be dead.
Will Smith's a good athlete, man.
Yeah, he would be dead.
Oh, I don't know, man. Those guys, I think that'd be a fair fight. I might put money on Smith.
Also, Michael B. Jordan's probably, 8, 10 years younger?
Oh, at least, yeah.
Okay, so I think I was way off. I didn't realize Tyson was 53 years old.
Yeah.
So he's 53. Lennox Lewis is 54. Mike Tyson's 5'10". Lennox Lewis is 6'5". I still, even at 6'5", even if Lennox Lewis is in great shape, I still think Tyson whoops his ass.
Yeah. Do you ever watch Lennox Lewis fight? Because he was a good boxer.
He was great. I loved watching Lennox Lewis.
Yeah, one of my favorites actually.
He was not good as a UFC fighter.
Him and Butterbean.
Did he try to UFC fight?
Yeah, he tried to fight. Was it Chuck Liddell? It was somebody who had been retired for like 5 years, and they came back and tried to fight him. And because Lennox Lewis is like, oh yeah, I could totally fight UFC, and all he did was take him to the ground and punch him in the face all the time.
Dude, can we have a Tyson Holyfield rematch for this old guy?
I don't think Evander Holyfield wants any piece of that. Look, we gotta find somebody who's in shape, roughly.
That is the charity fight, though. Is Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson? Apparently, that's what's happening. It's already in the works.
Let's make it happen. Call Don King Jr.
Don King Jr. Make it happen.
All right, boys. I got a dinner at the mother-in-law's. I got to get ready for here.
I have to go talk to the people who are laying my concrete.
So that means I gotta put down another 2 or 3 of these before I get over there.
I think you can do it.
It's been a pleasure. Glad we could get this one in the weekend that sports came back.
Always fun.
Cheers to the 2 of you, and to many more weekends of sports coming up, hopefully.
Hopefully we'll see you guys soon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sure.
We'll social gather here in hopefully coming weeks.
As long as it's less than 10 people and we are more than 6 feet apart, we're fine.
No.
As long as we just are, apparently, if you read the news, as long as we're Republican, we're fine. So we can just do whatever the hell we want.
I mean, if everybody washes their hands and you don't fucking fart in everybody's mouth, because apparently.
Well, damn it. Why would I want to come over there if I can't fart in your mouth, Adam?
I mean, that's the entire idea, Adam. That's how we had to make you podcast today, was we threatened to fart in your mouth.
Right. Well, if you read the text message from Greg, it sounded like I had all kinds of it. I
feel like you asked for us to fart in your mouth.
Yeah.
I literally copied that down word for word.
Pretty sure that's not how that happened. But.
It seemed accurate to me, so.
So, yeah, we'll get together soon. Maybe one of these UFC fights or something. We'll have a little get together. We'll cook some burgers and socially distance ourselves around the living room. And
yeah, we got to do something.
Yep.
All right.
Cheers.
Squatch holler.
Deuces.